Armstrong? We are on the air. Paul Catalina basically destroyed the entire rack of technology in the room. And so I don't know. I want to answer some questions. Teresa Smith, you guys talk about nothing but Baylor in the Big Ten. Teresa, you may be new. We appreciate you watching or listening, but that's completely false. We do cover Baylor because that's where we all started back in April of 2020. We do cover them. But if you listen long enough and stay with us long enough, you'll know that will be a comment that you know is not true, because today alone we have talked about many things, not just Baylor, but we're coming off a weekend. We've had every conference, basically almost 8 or 9 of each conference's teams represented with analysts, writers, etc., if not 6 or 7 head football coaches from around the country as well. Also had somebody ask, hey, can you guys get some analyst or whatever from Memphis on? They are going to join the Big 12. We're the ones that reported that. And we have had numerous analysts, columnists from Memphis on this show and tried to keep you apprised of what's going on. So just a couple of updates.
I'll just say this, like to research anybody else, and I don't mean this in any negative way, but like, you jump in mid-conversation. I appreciate having you. But, yeah, if you just give a little bit of time rather than making a rash judgment based on whatever little amount you've been watching, then you know that you were completely incorrect. Jeff Traylor has nothing to do with Baylor. We were just talking Cowboys World Series, has nothing to do with Baylor. Yeah, we're going to talk about him. We're based in Waco. Look at the dang logos. This started off as a purely Baylor show and a Central Texas show, and it's expanded into some other stuff. So give us some time before making judgments, although I know that's hard for a lot of people these days.
All right, so that's that. And Armstrong Sims saved us, along with, thank God, Jack McKenzie was here, because Paul Catalina just tried to take us off the air and basically did. Had it been me, I would be paying for that for the rest of my life. We have David Hellman. We'll have him in the next segment here on Sikkim 365 Radio. So we have broken down Gary Patterson and TCU with the voice of TCU, Brian Estridge. We have broken down Gary Patterson and Baylor's win against Texas and other college football news, including the first release of the college football playoff standings with Sam Kahn of theathletic.com. We've heard from one of the big stories in college football this year and around the weekend in Jeff Traylor, the head coach at UT San Antonio, and his also contract extension. And then on top of that, we're not done. We'll be reading, talking, and also responding to some of your chat as well. Armstrong, what do you want to do? Break and then come back with David Hellman? Go with David Hellman right now. Okay, earlier today I had a chance to visit, Paul did, with DallasCowboys.com reporter David Hellman. When we come back after this, we read your chats. We take your texts and your calls. 254-339-1122. Here's David Hellman with Paul.
Welcome back into Sikkim 365 Radio. David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. And David, I found myself thinking a lot of different things throughout the course of the evening. We found out Dak Prescott wasn't going to play, which it felt that way from about Thursday afternoon on, that something was trending in that direction with, they kept kind of throwing out things about a threshold. You hear Dak and he's like, I feel good, or I pushed myself. But there were just two different messages, and it felt like he was probably going to sit out at least a game because it's still a long season. There's a lot of games left after this one. And then Cooper Rush comes in, and, while I would stop at saying he was fantastic or life-changing, he kind of had his Jason Garrett on Thanksgiving moment where he was as good as he's probably ever going to be. The Vikings were kind of befuddled by the Cowboys' game plan, and they win a game that maybe they shouldn't have because they didn't have their starting quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't think of a more telling hallmark of a good football team is to steal a game on the road when you don't have your quarterback that makes everything work. I don't think anybody thinks that Cooper Rush revolutionized the quarterback position, but we've seen in years past the way things can go drastically south when the Cowboys don't have their preferred option really at any position, let alone quarterback. And for that matter, they were banged up elsewhere as well. They lost Tyron Smith halfway through that game. Obviously, they've been playing a backup at right tackle all season. It's a very impressive role reversal from what this team typically has been, which is really good when everything's clicking and not good at all when they have to improvise. And that's what makes this team so impressive is we've definitely seen them at their best, but even on nights like last night when they've had to roll out and sort of get creative with it, they've still been able to put their best foot forward, that's definitely new here, you know?
Do you think that there's anything to that the Vikings might have fallen a little bit for Mike McCarthy's gamesmanship? Because it seemed to me that their offensive game plan was set up to play against a Cowboys offense led by Dak Prescott and not Cooper Rush.
You think their offense? I thought their offense, if that was their game plan to play a Dak Prescott offense, then I don't know what they were expecting, because I think the way the Vikings played offense in that game felt so conservative to me that if they were planning on playing that way against Dak, I think they might have lost that game by 17 or 20 points. I heard some of that after the game, and I thought it was strange, because I was like, even if you game plan for Dak all week, you mean to tell me that an obviously lesser quarterback threw you for that much of a loop that you couldn't compensate for it? I thought the Vikings, a big part of that, and not to take credit away from the Cowboys, you go on the road anytime in the NFL without your quarterback. I mean, that's amazing. But I thought the Vikings played right into their hands with the way that the Vikings seemed to play as if they thought they were the lesser team. Just not being very aggressive, trying to play ball control, trying to grind the game down, not looking for big shots. I thought that was really weird, because and with Dak Prescott, I think the Cowboys are clearly a better team than the Vikings, but they didn't have, and for the Vikings still sort of play so buttoned up, I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I guess, when I think about it, I thought that their offensive plan was way out of whack. The Cowboys did a pretty good job on Dalvin Cook, but I don't know why the Vikings, sometimes he would get 9 yards and then they'd try to roll Kirk Cousins out and then he'd get in trouble. I just couldn't figure out what they were doing the whole night, and maybe capitalize on the Cowboys when they don't have get a lead that they can't come back from because there's no Dak.
Exactly. And I know, Randy Gregory was amazing last night. I thought Darrell Basham played his best game as a Cowboy. The Cowboys pass rush definitely gave him fits, but he's a much better quarterback than Cooper Rush. And this is just a small example, but the Vikings were content to run the clock out with a minute left in the first half and go into halftime with a one possession lead, when even a field goal puts you up 10 and probably changes the complexion of the way you can play in the second half, with the Cowboys needing to chase possessions. And I'm sure the flip side of that is, through the first half, the Vikings had total confidence that Cooper Rush wasn't moving the ball well enough for them to be worried about it. But like I said, I was surprised. I mean, the Vikings had all of the important pieces of their team available to them, and I still felt like they were playing it, basically playing it as if it was going to come down to the last possession. And I just was like, wow, what are y'all worried about? But hey, it worked out for the Cowboys.
Yeah. Do you think that Cooper Rush has given them now confidence that they needed to see, that if to not rush Dak Prescott back maybe for another week, although Dak Prescott's going to come back as fast as he can. You can certainly tell that he's not a guy who's sitting there waiting just to be perfectly healthy, because he knows that day might not come until the offseason.
Yeah, I don't think the result of that game is going to change the way that they play it. I think they're going to do the exact same thing that they always do. They're going to follow the same plan as last week. He's going to rehab during the week and test himself. I'll be curious to see if he takes a few more reps in team. That might be a pretty telling indicator. I don't think that's going to change the way they approach. And if they feel confident that he's right by Sunday, I think he'll play. But I think it just alleviates some of that pressure, I guess I would say, pressure to get him back on the field, because you're in the same situation you were in last week. Got a great record. You're in a commanding position in the division, but even more so now, it's an AFC opponent, and you want to win every game. But if you're going to lose a game in the NFL, you want to lose it to the other conference, because that doesn't affect playoff seeding anywhere near as much as if you were obviously to lose a division game, or even a common opponent in the NFC. That stuff tends to show back up when the playoff seedings come down. But so like I said, I don't think it changes the way that they prepare for this week. And if Dak's ready to go, I think he'll play. But it certainly takes the pressure off, to where if you're just not feeling good about it by Friday or Saturday, I don't think you need to chew your fingernails too much about forcing him into a game he's not ready for.
Of course, the big news in the NFL today is Von Miller on his way to the Rams. And, God help the quarterbacks in the NFC West and people who have to face Aaron Donald and Von Miller on the same defense. Your thoughts about that? I saw your tweet about general managers, kind of playing footsie with trades, and the Rams don't. Les Snead doesn't think that way.
I'm fascinated to see where this all goes for the Rams because it's an interesting conversation that you could do a whole radio show on it. I mean, you can't even do it in one segment, but it's just interesting to think, people value draft picks so much in this league, but at the end of the day, it's a crapshoot. It's an unproven commodity. And the Rams time and time again are just saying, we'll take the proven commodity over the unknown draft pick every single time. And they've got themselves a juggernaut. I mean, if you put a gun in my head, I'd say I think that they're the favorites to win the NFC right now. They look incredibly impressive. They just added another great piece to a defense that was already intimidating. But obviously this is a really cruel and random game. Injuries happen. Guys fall off cliffs unexpectedly. Contract cap hits can come back to bite you. So, I do think this is all going to come due for the Rams at some point. If you spend 4 years not really drafting new players to your roster, you better hope everybody stays healthy. But nobody's going to care if this works out and pushes them over the top and helps them win a Super Bowl. So I can't wait to see how it plays out. I do think it's funny. It's great for the Cowboys right now because all of a sudden Von Miller is not on that Denver roster that's coming into town next week. But it'll be interesting if the Cowboys wind up locking horns with the Rams later on, if Von Miller's a part of that. But I admire the Rams for being aggressive. I think they know they're in a championship window. You might as well go for it.
Is there anything on Tyron Smith that you guys know now that, was that more precautionary than anything?
I don't think it's precautionary because it happened before halftime and maybe you can find a way back in. So, it's an ankle sprain. I haven't heard, everybody always says that the dreaded high ankle sprain is the one that you really got to be worried about. That's the one that keeps you out for 5-6 weeks. I don't want to be a doctor from a distance, but he didn't get out of uniform last night. He was on his feet the whole time. It's not like they had to put a cast or a boot on him. He didn't seem to be in a tremendous amount of pain. So, I'm optimistic that it's at least not a severe injury, but it's something to watch. I can't say right now that I'm optimistic he's going to play on Sunday, but we'll have to watch that as the week goes.
Do you think the Cowboys would be involved in anything on trade deadline tomorrow?
I doubt it, unless something crazy happens and somebody just wants to knock their socks off. I don't think so. And they've said it time and time again. The Cowboys kind of view their injury situation as adding to their talent. And I totally get why. You look, they're 6-1. They've basically done all of that without DeMarcus Lawrence and Michael Gallup. And then there's some other depth players coming back. Kelvin Joseph came back for the first time last night. Sean McCune, their third tight end. Neville Gallimore will be back eventually. That's a guy that was supposed to be their starting 3 technique. Tristan Hill, another highly drafted player. So you're talking about 4 or 5 pretty key pieces that really haven't had a role to this point that'll all be back, either right now or in the coming weeks. I think DeMarcus is probably still another 3 to 4 weeks away. I wouldn't guess you'll see him until Thanksgiving or maybe even after Thanksgiving. But again, they feel like they're getting a lot of talent back for the second half of the season, and I think that kind of alleviates their desire to do anything in the trade market.
David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com, with us here from Minnesota today as he awaits his trip back to the friendly confines of the Lone Star State. David, thanks as always. Have a good trip home.
Yeah, buddy. I'm on my way to the airport right now. Appreciate it. Talk to you all next week.
All right. That's David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. Cowboys win with Cooper Rush last night in surprising fashion. More Sick'em 365 Radio after this.
When we come back, we'll try to explain what has happened over the last 30 minutes of this show that had nearly hundreds of you watching, paying attention to what we were doing, and then all of a sudden, everything just went dark. We'll also read your chat rooms, which has become interesting. And there's a picture on my Twitter feed. You can try to read into it, whatever that picture is. But coming up next, your chat room on whatever you've been talking about. We could not read it because we were knocked out for a second, but we're back in a moment. Thank God Armstrong and Jack were here. I'm David Smoak, Sikkim 365 Radio, and Discover Woodwave. Halloween things done. They did a great job. The police, unbelievable, in handing out and also doing the drive-through as well for Halloween last night or on Saturday night. The Veterans Breakfast is next. That's coming up November 12th at 9 o'clock in the morning. That's great to give back to those who have served our country. The flag retirement ceremony is going to happen on November 14th at Discover Woodway, 1 o'clock that afternoon. And Jake Hoot and Sundance Head, he was a winner of The Voice, featuring his concert November 17th, 7 o'clock until 9:30. All of that thanks to Discover Woodway. 7 hotels for you if you come into town for any kind of future Baylor game, Oklahoma in 2 weeks, or another game with Texas Tech at home. And, of course, basketball season, Magnolia, the Silos, and even Balcones and much more. The great exuberance, the energy of downtown Waco that's thriving the last several years. It's discoverwoodway.com.
The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is rated first among all midsize trucks. Get an early start to the Black Friday sales event, only at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full-service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
We are back. Read some of your chat room comments if you want. 254-339-1122 on the text as well. We're back on the air thanks to Armstrong Sims and Jack McKenzie.
Hey, I'm the one who knows we were off. I'm just saying.
Craig, let's discuss. You're okay, right? Let's discuss the Big 12. And if you have a chat question or comment, we'll read it and try to respond to it. We've got about 8 to 10 minutes here. What we've discussed is Baylor beat Texas. We know that. TCU's gone with Gary Patterson. He's out. Oklahoma did what they're supposed to do to attack Caleb Williams, 400 yards. West Virginia, I had no idea this was going to happen. Congratulations to the Mountaineers in beating Iowa State. Stunning victory.
Yeah, that was a great win for Neil Brown in West Virginia. They needed that badly, and now it gives them a little bit of hope that if they can close the season strong, just maybe that their fortunes turn out a lot differently than maybe they looked a couple of weeks ago, where they were scrounging the bottom of the Big 12 pool, and now you look at it and you got to put them above TCU. Obviously, you got to put them above Tech. You got to put them above Kansas. You have them probably right there in that 7 spot or so, whereas they were looking more like a 9 a couple of weeks ago. And I think actually in my power rankings, and I haven't gone back to check, but I intended to bump them up last week, and I think I left them at 9 accidentally. So I will correct that this week. That was an oversight on my part if I, in fact, did not change it. But, yeah, I mean, I did not see that coming in any way, shape, or form. Even though it was in Morgantown, I just didn't think that West Virginia would be able to do enough offensively against that Iowa State defense. But that Iowa State defense wasn't its typical great, self. It wasn't. It did not look all that good, and that mattered. And they were able to turn over Jarrett Doege. But ultimately, Jarrett Doege ended up playing a really good game. He had, a couple of mistakes, but, one of the interception was a deflection. One was on him, but, he also made a bunch of plays that willed them to win in that game. And I know from just scrounging around that there is a lot of complaints about officiating in that game, and there were some very questionable calls and whatnot. Now, part of that's just going to be the typical sour grapes that a fan base has when they lose a game, but I was listening to one, I think it was Cyclone Fanatics post-game recap, and they were just riffing on the officiating. So I'm sure that's a complaint coming out of it, but regardless, doesn't matter. That's what happens sometimes, and West Virginia was the benefactor, and good for Neil Brown. That was a big win.
Boy, they needed that. The young offensive line has been getting torn up, and had a couple of you, Joey, et cetera, like West Virginia fans saying, hey, our offensive line somehow handled it.
Yeah.
From Daniel, why is College Game Day going to Cincinnati this weekend and not College Station? I know that a lot of times you want a big game, a big moment, and A&M and Auburn would be nice, but Cincinnati's kind of earned that, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even know. I don't keep up with game day. I know that there's thoughts that maybe one day in Waco. I don't know if all Oklahoma's off and Baylor takes care of their business. I don't know that. I really don't care if they show up or not. If they do, I get it. And if they do, we'll try to interview some of the personalities.
One of the things about game day that they could easily go to the same 6 cities all year long, easily. And as a matter of fact, they kind of used to do that in the early 90s. It was just kind of like they're going to go here, here, and here. Some games they're going to be in the studio. Before the thing really took off, in the 90s, they would pop into a campus, but it was always Ohio State or FSU or Nebraska. That's where they were because those are the teams that were really good. Now the point of game day is that they can go. They've been in North Dakota State. They need to go to different places. They want to go to different places because they know that they're going to have their opportunity to go back to Athens again. They're going to go back, but when is the time where the show's going to be in the spirit of originality and newness going to get to be in Cincinnati? again. I'm hopefully again soon, but if they haven't been in a long time or ever been, time to go.
Yeah, I would have said that the Cincinnati game that they would have best been set up for would have been here in a couple of weeks against SMU. But with SMU's loss, they're still top 25, but that knocks them down a peg from the ranks of the unbeaten. So that Cincy-SMU matchup still has a lot of anticipation and meaning, but it has lost some of its luster because the Mustangs did fall to Houston over the weekend in what was a great game. But I look ahead I look ahead to that weekend of Cincinnati and SMU. And for one, you also don't know if they're even going to be in the position. Like, are they still unbeaten at that point? Like, you think so, but who knows? But also, a problem with waiting on that game is you've got, like, Michigan State, Ohio State's that weekend. I think that's going to probably trump Cincy and SMU. So I think they're probably, I don't know this, but I would think there's probably some thought of, like, Cincy deserves this, but where are we going to, when can we do it? Because that Michigan State, Ohio State game is going to have a lot of build up if things stay the way that they are. And
you have two Heisman Trophy candidates with Stroud and obviously Kenneth Walker with the huge game he had against Michigan.
Yeah, you also got Oklahoma, Iowa State that week. Arkansas, okay, so Arkansas, Bama wouldn't be as much, but yeah. So it's kind of curious, but glad they're getting the opportunity.
All right, from Chris. Okay, guys, Pittsburgh lost to Miami. Kenny Pickett threw 500-plus yards and 3 touchdowns. Do you think he can still win the Heisman? That didn't help.
Didn't help that Kenneth Walker scored 5 touchdowns.
Here is
C.J. Stroud is still going to be C.J. Stroud, and he's going to be in the race.
Here's the updates from Vegas. Bryce Young, Matt Corral. He didn't throw a touchdown in that game to Auburn. C.J. Stroud, Kenneth Walker III moves up to number 4, and Caleb Williams ahead of Kenny Pickett at 5.
Yeah, Corral was obviously a little dinged up, and he had the bad pick there towards the end that kind of vanquished their hopes a little bit. But Corral's a really fun player to watch. That was a really fun game between Ole Miss and Auburn, and really nice win for. What did y'all think of the orange face mask, by the way, that they brought back? Did y'all even notice?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, they brought back the old orange face mask. I thought it looked cool. I don't know what they're going to keep them or not, but yeah, that was a tough loss for Pitt. Pickett, I'm sure, is still going to get some love, but I got to be honest. I think that probably pretty much vanquishes his hopes for the Heisman. It's going to be really hard, no matter how many touchdowns he throws, to be able to, remain with the Ohio State, stars of the world and whatnot. So still having a great year, still deserves a lot of attention, but I don't know. I think that loss kind of kills the Heisman hopes.
From Chris, the only thing I don't like about Waco is the traffic jam on I-35 during game days. Yeah, it's just going to happen. There's nothing to do about
game days.
Yeah,
every day. But yeah, that's part of. I'm sure a lot of Texas fans are like, "What the heck?" Although in Austin, they're used to it as well. I-35 traffic, but we're in the midst of like a 5-year project where they're completely redoing, the interstate in the middle of town, right next to campus. So it's just what it is right now.
From Kevin Travis, Cincinnati will now get 2 top 25 games with SMU and Houston. After Houston's win, what a dramatic finish. Yep. Bob Williams, I still think Cincinnati will be left out. There appears to be some of the forecasting for tomorrow night that they will not be a part of the top 4, and that, of course, will create all sorts of anxiety.
Yeah, when I saw that Heather Dennis tweet, like I have nothing against her personally. I don't know her, and when I've interviewed her, she's been very nice and has been a good interview. But she is very much the mouthpiece of the committee in many ways, and I guess ESPN to an extent as well. But as soon as I saw that tweet already positioning the whole rigmarole with Cincinnati, I just rolled my eyes so hard. It's typical. It's so typical. We've lived through it. We saw it happen with Baylor and TCU. We've seen it happen with a bunch of other teams. It's dumb. And this is what I do not like about the 4-team playoff is the automatic screw job that typically comes for these smaller schools that aren't, your blue bloods.
And from nighttime, among a couple of others, Cincinnati, from Kevin Travis, will be in if they stay unbeaten. Nighttime, UCF fan. Appreciate it. I honestly think Cincinnati will get snubbed. It just feels like it's leaning that way.
Yeah, and
Paul Chialani, who wanted your job.
He wanted my job. He also says I'm the one with the least secure footing. And he doesn't know of some of the things that, look, I did almost, completely derail everything, but also I had a huge part in technically putting all this stuff together.
And then tearing it apart.
Well, that's why it's better that I did it than most people.
It's like putting the Christmas tree up and then tripping over a wire and it all falls down. From Mr. Patty Daddy. I wish game day would have picked that UTEP and UT San Antonio.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, that would have been a nice change.
You know what? I bet UTEP would have been a really cool atmosphere,
yeah.
too. Folks in El Paso would have come out in droves for that. You know what? You're absolutely right. That would have been a great game to pick. I mean, I'm glad Cincinnati's getting some love, but, yeah, I think that UTSA, UTEP game's a good one. Definitely.
Houston is now in position to play in the the American Conference Championship game after their win the way it went down. They did kind of dictate most of that game, and then SMU comes back to tie it, and then kickoff return.
that was
a great
so
moment for Houston.
It's unbelievable when you get some of those calls sometimes where it kind of gets forecasted by the announcers right before, and they did. They talked about how, hey, he's run back 9 kick returns in his career, or whatever. Or they said 8. No, here's number 9, or whatever the way they said it was. And yeah, that was an unbelievable moment for U of H. I give Dana Holgerson some credit, man. That was not a fun year last year, and they've just quietly kind of gone about their business. And all of a sudden, you look up, and here we are approaching was it week 9 now?
Yeah.
And there they are. And you're like, oh, wait a second. I didn't realize that they were playing like that.
They blew that lead against Texas Tech, and then everybody wrote them off.
Yep.
Everybody's like, well, they lost to Texas Tech. Texas Tech's bad. Everybody kind of knew in week 1 that Matt Wells was was going to get fired. And then people forgot about Houston, and here they go and beat
under
SMU.
the radar. Wayne Gerbach, I bet. What's this week's installment of Chapter 2 expansion? Any movement? Today was not the day to get nothing breaking, nothing like it urgent, but I'm working on a couple of things that we'll continue to talk about with Chapter 2 that as far as the schools. I mentioned a little bit Friday. You may have missed it. Some news on Friday as well. From Joel, has Nebraska fired Scott Frost yet? Listen, he's got to go. I've gone up and down on the roller coaster. I'm not one. I don't want to ever recommend somebody get fired. I don't. If you haven't been before, no matter the reasons, you don't want to see that happen. But what they did, Minnesota, Purdue, and Illinois, not because of blown games against Michigan and Michigan State. They're a wreck. He's got that look on his face. It's the same answers at the end of every post game. He's done. I don't know what the hell's going to happen. It's stunning to me.
You think you hire Trev Alberts, who is a guy who would assuming be in the Scott Frost corner, you'd assume he'd be in Scott Frost corner because they didn't overlap as teammates, did they?
Trev Alberts? Alberts was gone before.
But
Frost was at Stanford, I think, when Alberts was. And then
but they're in that same era of Nebraska dominance, and
especially that time.
Yeah, they're in the same fraternity, and so I'm sure Trev Alberts wants to keep him in a perfect world, but it's anything but a perfect world, especially in Lincoln, Nebraska right now. And if Trev Alberts wants to really put his stamp on it, it's got to be his guy, not a guy he likes because they all played under Osborne. And it's got to be his guy. And it doesn't need to be. I do think people get kind of nuts about Michigan do the Michigan thing and hire somebody who knows what it's like to be here. Most of the best coaches in college football history did not go to the school that they coached.
There was also the question that if he did not work out when they hired him, if he doesn't work out, they could be Kansas at any moment if they're not careful.
Yeah, I really thought Scott Frost would do well there. I did. I totally bought it, hook, line, and sinker. His success at UCF, the Golden Boy coming home, all that. I thought it was going to work, or at least I guess I thought and I was hopeful that it was going to work, and it just hasn't. And you look at the way they've lost games. I think that's the thing. It's
the same thing over and over again. Dumb football, lack of football IQ, and also some awful clock management. And it's got to go on the head coach. I hate to say it. Players too, but the head coach.
You look at their losses. I mean, they could still technically go to a bowl game, but they'd have to go.
They play Ohio State.
No, I know. I'm just saying they could still technically, but that will be over as soon as this Saturday because they will get drilled, I'm sure, by Ohio State. Plus, they still got to play Iowa and Wisconsin. So that's probably an 0-3 finish to the season.
Yeah, they're done.
So they will be 3 and what would it be? Be 3 and 9?
3 or 4 and 9, they're done.
And you have to worry about if you're Scott Frost. Things go in national trends, especially coaching. The NFL, the NBA. Coaching is everybody does the same thing at the same time. So this year the thing is, let's just go ahead and fire the coach if we're going to fire him.
Yeah.
Let's just go ahead and do it. And
here's the thing about their losses too. They have not lost a single game by double-digit points.
Craig,
They have not lost a single game by double digits. They lost by Illinois, or lost to Illinois by 8. Lost
in
to
a
Oklahoma.
game that was so winnable.
Yes, very winnable game. Lost to Oklahoma by a touchdown
In
in
a game
Norman.
in which they would make a play or two, who knows? Oklahoma was vulnerable that day.
Lost to a red-hot Michigan State team, 23-20 in overtime.
Led that game until the very end when they punted to the only guy on the left side of the field, and they were all covering the guy on the right side of the field. They were winning that game, okay?
Lost to Michigan by a field goal.
Leading that game, tied game, late in the game, have the ball, and Martinez has a ball pulled away from him, which has happened a dozen or 25 times.
Lost at Minnesota by a touchdown.
Shocking, but not shocking. Expected it because they just aren't very good.
And then lost by 5 to Purdue.
I'm going to kill myself.
I mean, that's brutal. That is absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
One-score
Honestly,
losses.
that's who they are. You are who your record says, even though there could have been 3 to 5 wins on, but they are. It's awful. All right, the one thing, Kevin, who does Penn State go after if Franklin does leave?
It's a good question. I don't know where their list would start. Do you think they'd have to make a phone call to Matt Rule,
Somebody
right?
has mentioned this, by the way. Joel Tilson,
I know
$20 million buyout for
Oh,
Frost.
wow. Oh, for Frost. Wow.
Yeah, I can't go another year with this. I can't.
No, I was sure Penn State would make the courtesy phone call to Matt Rule, but I think you'd get like a Mike Tomlin type of answer. I mean, like, I'm the coach of the Carolina Panthers. Why am I gonna, even though it's his alma mater? I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm connected enough to Penn State and kind of their feelings or their connections on who would be the best fit there.
I know a guy who'll call him back.
Who?
Bill O'Brien.
Oh, yeah.
I guarantee you he'll go, hey, you remember when I was there and I fixed everything after the worst scandal in the history of sports? Yeah, I would like to be a head coach again. And please don't look at my record in the pros where when you gave me total control of something, I ran it underneath the porta potties.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun game with Ohio State, too. They had their opportunities. Ohio State, though, just made, more plays and – but still, though, that was a fun game to watch.
All right, a lot of you getting into Nebraska and just tear my brains out.
By the way, Blake Robinson says fire the 82. No, they already did that. They brought in a new one.
Yeah.
He's brand new, basically.
There's some other names out there that have not been brought up, and you wonder about a Tom Herman or someone like that. And some of these openings are out there.
You mean Chicago Bears head coach Tom Herman?
Yeah. All right. So thank you to a lot of you, all the chat room. How about Patterson to Nebraska to stabilize it? They offered him, or they were trying to get him hired when Solich was fired.
Yep.
Remember that? All right, when we come back, Paul Catalina, if he's alive and well, and his top 5.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street here in Waco is a hidden gem. It probably shouldn't be so hidden anymore the way we keep talking about it, and it shouldn't be because it's fantastic. Great customer service, craft beer, like you would not believe in that walk-in fridge. And the rosters, this is another great time of year for that roster churning fall into winter and all the different things that are come after the Oktoberfest beers. So if you're a craft beer fan, you like to do that, then pop on into Lakeshore, on Lakeshore and North 19th Street at Riverman Liquor and Wine. Get yourself some of that high-end bourbons. Bardstown. I mean, that's probably the highest end. But Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, tons of stuff that they have at Riverman Liquor and Wine, plus customer service that is second to none, and a convenient drive-through window that is so speedy. So check them out online, Facebook and Instagram, or just pop by the store at Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Hey guys, sports betting season is in full force with football season entrenched and the NBA and NHL underway and the Major League Baseball playoffs. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS.com. BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That's BetUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses like ours at BetUS.com. 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 or a 200% bonus if you use crypto on promo code SICK'EM200. BetUS, known as America's favorite sportsbook. NFL, college football, MLB, UFC, PGA Golf, they've got it all at BetUS.com. So go to BetUS.com today and use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200. That's BetUS.com, promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
Brad Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brad, what makes you different than anyone else, in your opinion, as far as what Boozer's does?
The fact that I own the jewelry store, anything I need to do, will do, or can do, I can do it. The buck stops with me, whereas a lot of places you have to go up the corporate command and corporate channel. Well, if you come in and want to make a deal, we sit there and we make the deal.
And you can find whatever someone's looking for, correct?
Anything is obtainable. I don't care what brand it is, what size it is, how much it costs, large or small. Anything is obtainable, and we can definitely get that in for you to see, look at, or buy.
Do you have the opportunity, if people have to pay things off, as far as a layaway program? What about what you have with financing?
Absolutely. We have 12-month no-interest financing. We have layaway. If you want to pay with Bitcoin, I can take Bitcoin now. So if there's any way you want to pay for it, we can find a way out to make it work.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
It is today's top 5. The 5 best candidates to replace Gary Patterson who remind you are some songs of the Beach Boys.
No, and I appreciate
on there.
I appreciate you not ragging on the segment that I work very hard on every day. But no, I'm just trying to be.
That was from one of the listeners.
I know they can go jump off a bridge too,
or go run into an electrical closet and stumble into it.
Yeah. Listen, crap happens, people. It happens.
I guess we should ask if you're okay, but
nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares if I'm okay. Nobody cares.
All right, let's go. We are so far behind.
Yeah. Yeah, my
because
fault.
of you.
Yeah, that's my fault for the first time. All right, number 5, Gary Patterson replacements.
First time today. All right.
Oh, don't get me started. Number 5, Dave Clawson at Wake Forest. If this guy's going to take a step up, and TCU is a big step up from Wake Forest, they're doing well, and he's kind of like Gary Patterson in the fact that he's got his systems that work and that he sticks to. He's not like Gary Patterson, and then he's not. He doesn't care what anybody says about anything. He just kind of goes and does his job. So a good fit there, Dave Clawson from Wake Forest. I think I didn't put Sonny Dykes on this list because, to me, if I'm Sonny Dykes and SMU is going to be in the Big 12 in a few years, if Big 12 Phase 2 happens, then I don't know if I want to go to TCU. I'll just stay where I'm at.
I think that depends on how long it's going to take, though.
Yeah.
Like, if you're telling me that it's going to be 4 years until SMU enters the Big 12 potentially, like, yeah, you're entering the Big 12 soon, but 4 years, 3 years, like, that's kind of a long wait to me.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts on Sonny Dykes and that.
Yeah, that's probably the same thing with Sonny Dykes and Texas Tech. Like, if you could stay or not go back there. And then the other thing is, do you want to go to your alma mater? Do you want to go to a place and go, hey, your dad didn't do it like this? You know, that's hard. That's why Bobby Bowden didn't want any of the Bowdens to take his place. People ask him, like, which one of your sons do you want to be the head coach? He'd be like, none of them. I don't want them to have to live up to this. It's not fair to them. If they have any like drop off, they're going to blame them. You know, that's not fair. All right, number 4, Jamie Chadwell. If I want, and here's the reason I say this. If I want a different culture and a different attitude, I'm going to go from someone who is cagey to someone who is very Scott Drew-esque in a football sense in Jamie Chadwell. Very upbeat, very positive, doesn't hear the noise, enjoys it, wants to build a program. That's what I'd go if I was trying to change the attitude from a Gary Patterson.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be a departure. He's a younger coach, could put his own fingerprints on the program. I mean, he's a top 5 candidate for every single job that's open right now, it seems like. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think you can go wrong with the guy who every single fan base mentions who has an opening. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know of his interest. I mean, I'm sure he would be interested in taking a jump. But, again, he's going to have so much interest. So I'm not sure what's going to actually be out there for him to choose from. Would TCU be the best to choose from? I don't know. Is he ready to leave Coastal right now? I don't know. So, I'm curious to see what the path of Jamie Chadwell is, but he's certainly one of those guys that you have to keep an eye on if you're a college football fan.
Yeah. Number 3, Mike Elko, defensive coordinator at Texas A&M. Look, if you're going to go the coordinator route in Texas, recruiting high-level players, that's what Mike Elko is doing. He's ready to be a head coach. I don't know how much longer Jimbo can keep him on staff. Look, they're going to pay him well at Texas A&M, so if he wants to be the defensive coordinator at an SEC school, then he's going to probably do that at Texas A&M because he's doing a great job there. They're paying him a bunch of money, but if he's ready to be a head coach, then TCU is a nice opening for him. And if you would keep the same mindset of being a defensive first team like Gary Patterson had, you could do a lot worse than Mike Elko.
He's young because he was born the same year I graduated from high school.
Yeah.
God. He's never been a head coach. He's been all over the place. He's been in a lot of unique places like Fordham and Stony Brook and Penn and Hofstra, Bowling Green. All of a sudden he's at Notre Dame and A&M.
Yeah, absolutely. I
think it would definitely go in line with the defensive mindset. I do just remember Brian Etheridge talking about probably grabbing a guy who's already a head coach, so that wouldn't apply here. But hey, if you're impressive enough in the interview and you're somebody that Jeremiah Donati seems to think would be the guy, then yeah, I think you absolutely have to take a look at Mike Elko.
Yeah. Number 2, Jay Norvell at Nevada. Look, if he's up for all these like Washington State and all that, well, TCU's a better job than most of the ones they've already mentioned for. And if he's good enough to be, I think he's good enough to be anywhere. And so Jay Norvell would be a good one and has experience in the Big 12 at both Texas and Oklahoma.
Go ahead.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I like Jay Norvell. He's doing a good job in Nevada. Number 2 candidate, though, just your list, so it's fine. I don't know. I don't know how high he would rank. I mean, again, a guy that you probably have to talk to, given his connections, given his experience, and given what he's doing right now. I don't know where he'd fall on a short list for Jeremiah Donati, but Norvell, another guy who's it's the same guys. It's Jay Norvell and it's Caldwell and it's a lot of the same guys and. Only so many jobs, so I'm very interested how this shakes out. But, yeah, I could see Norvell taking a step up somewhere.
Yeah. And number 1, Billy Napier. Look, we keep talking about him for SEC jobs. Why not for a Big 12 job? They're 7-1.
He's not making more. He obviously would be a big jump. He's been looked at before but stayed there. I like that. I appreciate his loyalty. But, boy, he could make a lot more, and I obviously like what he's done where he is. Craig, anything on Billy Napier?
Yeah, again, he's another guy that's mentioned in every single coaching job. Obviously he's had his opportunities, or at least it appears he's had opportunities to leave and has decided against it. For what reason, I don't know. Is he like Jeff Traylor to Lafayette, as Traylor is to UTSA and wanting to stick it out and continue building or what have you? I don't know. I've barely ever even heard Billy Napier talk, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I don't know what his motivations are. I know that he's somebody that LSU may have an interest in, and TCU has no shot if that's the case because he's just not going to take TCU over LSU. So who has interest in him? that will remain to be seen, but it seems like a lot probably will, and he's definitely going to, have a busy agent and probably has some interviews lined up. But, yeah, I mean, that's the cast of guys. I mean, Elko's kind of a new addition, as is Clausen. Man, what a job he's doing with Wake Forest right now. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm very intrigued by the TCU opening.
TCU, USC, and LSU we know are open. Florida, Penn State, and Nebraska could be. Penn State only if Franklin leaves. Also, down the spine of I-35, North Texas, there's a little wobbly with Seth Luttrell, let's just be honest. Texas State, we'll see if Spavital can survive. You have SMU if Sonny Dykes goes to I-35 west to TCU. And then, of course, Texas Tech as well out to the west. I mean, it's some huge programs that might be affected, and some have already been affected. All right, thanks to so many of you. Thanks to Jack McKenzie for saving the whole radio station, and Armstrong Sims as well. Thanks to our chat room, all of you, a bunch of you. Thanks to Text Line, and thanks to our great sponsors who are here with us every single day that help build what we have that was almost destroyed today. For Paul Catalina, whoever's left of him, for Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak. Thank you for watching and listening. Back again tomorrow. Sick of 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.